Is NVIDIA's CEO dead wrong about programming jobs, death programming jobs? I don't know. Maybe. Okay, I'm gonna react to Chris Hawk. He's an old school. Oh yeah, tech support's coming out. Let's close that thing up eventually. We'll see. It's Tuesday, they said. Anyway, okay. NVIDIA says the future of coding careers might be already dead in the water. This is a few months ago. It was actually last year. So we've had a year to kind of like let this stew. And let me exaggerate. So the thing about all this AI crap is like if it did half of what they said it did, it would already be here. It would already be doing the things. We wouldn't still be going. Could it be possible? Would it be? It's like no, they would already be doing it. In fact, in the future, all this stuff has to be demonstrated well before they announce it, and more than just a little chat app like, that people can. It's lies half the time. Come on, this is not a thing. It may be a thing at some point. Who knows? It's useful, but it's not going to take people's jobs. So I'm going to react to Chris Hawk here, and he's covering it. He's been around the block a few times, like me. So let's get into it.
Hey everybody, what up? All right, so I would like to be the NVIDIA CEO. I'd love to have some of that money. I think he's probably one of the better CEOs out there. I don't know anything about him, to be honest, but I do read these articles that come out, and it's like coding is dead. We're not going to need programmers anymore because we have AI, and somehow AI is going to do everything that programmers do.
How about that?
And the reason why I'm making this video, and sadly, not very many people are going to watch it, and that's fine.
I'll watch it.
I have an opinion. He has an opinion. I've been in the trenches doing this stuff for a long time now, but my opinion is that this is a bunch of hype. And it's because if you are the CEO of NVIDIA and there's a gold rush going on, and your job is to supply pickaxes to mine for that gold, you're going to want that gold rush to continue.
Yeah.
And even if it's not there, you're going to pretend like it is.
Yeah, it's a pump and dump scheme in my mind. It's just because if they actually had software developers to replace that, that's billions and billions of dollars, dude. Way more than just $200 a month.
You see, the media has been hyping things since really the dawn of the internet. Does anybody remember Y2K? I mean, we thought the world was going to end. Like the media, everybody, that didn't know anything about it was freaking out. And it's a common thing. So Y2K, computers weren't prepared for the turn of the century. And everybody thought that it was going to basically crash the entire world's economy at the time. I mean, people were talking about like missiles would be going off, like we might lose power. There was all kinds of talk.
I mean, there was a point in time in like 96, 97 when people started flipping out a little bit hard on it, but they got it under control. They figured out what the things needed to be done. And it wasn't that big of a problem, but they made it overhyped because it sold stuff big time.
And none of it was true. Well, but this sort of hype has
true for a moment.
And hype and panic and basically trying to predict the future of what technology and specifically programming and software engineering is all about predates this by quite a bit. I'll go back to the 1950s with COBOL. So this actually stands for Common Business Oriented Language. Yeah. And when it came out, everybody was saying, well, you don't need programmers anymore because with this Common Business Oriented Language, all you're going to you just have to learn that. So essentially non-programmers can write business logic, and therefore it will make programmers obsolete. You don't need the ones and zeros anymore.
Right. So I worked at so this is the 60s and 70s first wave of this baloney. Like, you don't need programmers. No. And then what everybody found out is it's not the programming that's the hard part. It's the figuring out the problem in a way that a computer can present it to people that's useful. That turns out to be the problem. It's not the programming part. We look like it when we're actually implementing the design, when we're putting all this stuff together. Yes, there's lots of typing and erasing and checking and stuff and finagling and stuff. Yes, but what we're trying to make it do and how we're trying to do it, the machine's not going to be able to replace that ever. And for other people to use, not just the machine, but not just doing a mathematical formula, it can be right or not. It's like, is this for the right context, the right person, for the right audience? Do they want to use your thing all day and be have all the details there, logged out 1,000 times and just security up the yin yang? Or is it just want to get into your app and get out and they just want to use a thumbprint? Like, there's so much variation there. And it's like defining the problem for your customer, for who you're building this thing for. Not can we make the code run? It's like that's the easy. That's kind of like now that's the easy part, right? It's like can we make the code run? It's like, but what do we want to make the code do? And that's so hard. That's always been the ding dong hard part.
Cobalt will do it all for you. So instead of Cobalt taking away all the programmers' jobs, what it did is it actually created millions of Cobalt programmers, all the way up until the point of where I started my career. I was working for a major insurance company that had mainframe servers still on site, and those mainframe servers were running Cobalt. And there was a big discussion at the time because everybody was talking.
Our financial system still runs on that stuff. IRS is mostly COBOL. It was supposed to delete programmers. It's created a massive problem. It's going to take a lot of programmers to figure out how to fix.
Talking about .NET, and they were trying to transition a lot of COBOL.
It may be easier to scrap the IRS than try to fix these computers.
Programmers over to .NET. And what ended up happening is that happened all over the industry because we didn't need COBOL programmers anymore. But it turns out there was still a lot of legacy software that was running it. So we had something called COBOL Cowboys, which is people that still understood how to write the code all of a sudden became hugely in demand because they were the only ones who knew how to write the code.
Yeah, because we all moved on. We're told that that was the old stuff and we don't need it anymore. Except that never is the case. This is where the AI actually may help out with this kind of stuff, but still it's going to be a clusterfuck. It may be easier to scrap the entire agency and start over. All right,
and there were still major government systems and airlines and insurance and financial sectors and everything that were still running these things. And when I lived in Great Falls, Virginia, one of the wealthiest areas in the entire country, one of my neighbors who had a much bigger house, I think it was like $4.5 million or something like that. But his house, he was a Cobalt developer, and like he made all the money. Wife stayed at home, but he was considered one of these Cobalt cowboys that really knew a lot of in-demand things. I'm sorry. What?
My ex-wife, this is what she was doing. When I first met her, she was doing Cobalt for the University of California, San Diego. I had to try to explain some of the stuff to me. Just like I was like, that sounds terrible. Just like it is, but they can't get rid of people. This will be here forever. I was like, yeah, okay.
It wasn't in demand anymore, but there was a shortage because the world still needed somebody like him who knew what he was doing to run these systems and try to get them off.
Still do. It's not going away.
So the same argument was also created for SQL. When SQL came out,
SQL, the squeal was another one. They said we don't need programmers anymore. We don't need these database programmers. Now, they didn't need the kind of database programmers they were doing before that. Everyone's rolling their own style of everything. Everyone's got their own way of doing it. Yes, sure, it was going to definitely standardize at some point because you're just, what are you doing? You're reading tables, you're sorting, you're finding, querying based on multiple things, combining tables together. I mean, it's not super rocket science here. It was going to definitely go into some sort of standardized format, but take away the programmer that designs what the data is and how it's put together. You're not going to get rid of the people because it's going to take a person to say that's good for people or not. Not because the machine will do whatever. The machine don't care. The machine's the TV is if there's nothing. The video monitor, as far as it's concerned, is just a bank of memory. It doesn't care. It's all what humans want it to do. It has not the machine. Yes, there's limits to the physics, but it's mostly limited to our imagination about how we want to portray this for people. Other people. I know it sucks. You know, it'd be this whole computer business would be great if it wasn't for all the people.
Everybody thought, and this was back in the 1970s, everybody thought, well, you don't need database programmers anymore. You're just going to have people that, non-programmers, be able to write SQL. And yeah, lo and behold, that actually created a ton of jobs, right? Still one of the most in-demand languages you can.
Every single company has to have somebody, most people in the company have to know about this now. You didn't get rid of people. You added another layer of thing to do. Now, yes, you didn't have to go right directly to the files or roll your own systems for indexing and sorting and all that baloney junk crap. Yes, you have a standardized interface. Awesome. But that's not getting rid of people. It's just making their job a little easier. So you don't have to wrap up every single rubber band on the damn thing. Every single nut bolt you have to screw it in. You can buy an engine. You don't have to screw in. You have to design the nuts and bolts. It's like here's an engine. Now you still have to drive the damn thing. You still have to know where to go. You can't get rid of the driver. It's like we can just get rid of everybody. We just get rid of everything. It's like, well, no.
And learn. Here's an article about 7 reasons why they think AI is not going to take SQL jobs. Not going to get into that, but the fact of the matter is it's still a very in-demand skill, probably one of the most valuable skills you can have.
It's not the technical ability. It's what are you trying to make this thing do, damn it?
So is the NVIDIA, the CEO, is he any different from any other CEO? I mean, one that comes to mind is Elon Musk, right? How long have we been promised self-driving vehicles? It got to the point where like a couple
Forever.
years ago.
Ever since I was a kid, my dad would get this magazine called Popular Mechanics. It was actually a print magazine, came every month. So awesome as a kid to have all this. It was looking back super overhyped over everything. It was overhyped. And you look at these plans like, oh my god, robots and all this other stuff. And we've been hearing about this forever, and they've been talking about it forever, and it'll never happen because unless we have highways designed just for these robots, there's always going to be some human thing that's going to screw it up, that's going to bankrupt the company because it gets sued because it killed 3 kids. Or you can't automate this stuff all the way. It won't be. Yeah, basically you just have trains at that point. So okay, well, we've improved technology for trains, I guess. I don't know what the. It's like, what are you guys doing? Like,
Waymo was like, here's all of our code. We can't figure this shit out. Hopefully somebody else out there can.
oh Jesus Christ, nuts. Yeah, we just replace the programmers with Indians and everything will be fine.
And I own a Tesla. I have
this
used
stuff
the
is so
autopilot.
silly. We'll just put 1,000 engineers on. It's like it's not that kind of problem, man. It's not even a technical problem. It's a social law problem. Like are we going to accept that these things are going to kill people or not? Are we like, it kind of seems like we're going to accept it. Like all the fully self-driving deaths that have occurred so far. Looks like we're going to accept it, I guess. I don't know. It seems a little foolish
Overpay for
at
it.
this point, depending because you've just seen some of these things that go crazy, and those are the ones that's the one we've seen so far. It's like the stuff has to be way 100% on the point all the time, way more. It doesn't has an error once every 1,000 years, and that's just not possible. It's a silly dream.
I don't trust it, and it's done things like not understand where the hot lanes are, taking me off the highway to
All
try to redirect
kinds
my
of
routes.
shit.
I just don't need that in my life.
Yeah.
And I guess the fact of the matter is, I know that it's just a bunch of sensors and things that can easily, sometimes I'm in my garage and it looks like there's a truck or motorcycle next to me. So we're not close. We haven't been close. That's without, the weather. So you had some rain and some snow into that mix.
Yeah,
Like,
a little
we're
bit of
miles.
mud on the sensor, or half your sensors are gone for some reason, or somebody sticks gum on your sensor. Somebody wants to fuck with you, or there's all kinds of shit. Is it monitoring for sabotage? Stuff is ridiculous. Like, you see that that Waymo guy that got caught out, and we just stands in front of the Waymo stops. The guy just walks up with a baseball bat. Yeah, just sit there. No, don't run anybody over. Just let the occupant get raped, murdered.
We're probably never going to get there at this rate. It seems like. I mean, I'm sure I should never say never, but
I mean, we'll get there eventually, but not even with this stuff. Not with this LLM neural network baloney. Oh, we got a network, a training model, and if it screws up all the time, even with all that stuff, it should be never screwing up at all. We should be so amazed, like, wow, guys, you guys really did nail it. No, it's just like donkey. I was going around circles. I was going to drive off the end of a cliff.
bottom line is Elon Musk has been
Let people get murdered.
way wrong about this, going back all the way to 2016. Now, what about crypto, right? I wish I would have bought Bitcoin back when I first heard about it. I didn't. I didn't think that there was much.
Okay, everybody says that, right? But at the time, it was crazy. It was like, hey, did you do Beanie Babies? You remember Beanie Babies? There's so many fads like this, so much. And you have no idea what it was. And most people who bought it back then, they lost it or got rid of it, sold it when it doubled. There's like, you're not going to hold on to it the whole time. And it's just luck. A lot of stuff is just luck. You can't look back and go, I wish I could have. It's like, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. It was so weird and esoteric and strange that unless you were already into it for some reason, like you're into cryptography, I breaking codes. It's like, man. So unless you were super into all that stuff already, you weren't gonna get Bitcoin. And if there's a good chance you bought it with like Mount Docs would steal it, you wouldn't get it back forever. So even if you did buy it back then, you don't have it, or your hardware fails, or somebody hacked it, or you stored your password someplace and you can't remember it. We weren't taking it. Nobody was taking it seriously. It was just a goofy thing. It was like 100 Bitcoin to buy a pizza. We weren't taking it seriously. Nobody was, except some few nerds. It's like Magic the Gathering. Hey, I got some Magic the Gathering cards. They're worth $100 billion now. It's like we weren't playing. Nobody was playing that back then. I mean, I kind of was into that stuff, but in general, most people not interested. Like we would rather not be dicking around with kids' toys. Okay, you'd rather watch our Netflix series. Okay, hey, did you know that Mad Men's on? Did you know that, did you know that Sex in the City's on?
Much feasibility in it. One time I was in a bar and I was sitting next to this guy who was like a mechanical engineer. He worked on ductwork or whatever. And this guy was trying to tell me a bunch of bullshit about all these different crypto things. And I just, listening to him talk, it was one of the biggest things in my life that was like, okay, well, I'm never going to get involved in this hype because
it was all screwed up with all this political stuff and all this future unlimited growth and really worth billions and like I'll be a millionaire and Lambos to the moon, all that baloney. It's like, dude, it was so overhyped, overhyped. It was like one of the first was like, wow, we've entered this new age of like ultra hype, everything overhyped to the point nth degree, and nobody like remembers back 2 minutes ago when they were hyping the last thing. It was like, no, the new thing's the best thing. It's going to solve all the problems that we had before.
Because when you got a bunch of people that have no idea what they're talking about, trying to tell you how things are, especially
in
the
technological
world.
Yeah, that's very common. That's Dunning-Kruger. If you've been on the internet for 2 seconds, there's a lot of people that know everything that is to know about everything. The moment something happens, they're real sure about it, and they want to tell you about it. They want to sell you a course.
It's like everybody thinks they're an economist. Everybody thinks they're like a technologist. Everybody now thinks that they're a cryptographer. Like, you see, the vibes that I got from hearing that person in the bar talking about something that he didn't know was the .com bubble. Really, I was a teenager, just graduating high school when all of this stuff collapsed, just entering the job market. Wasn't really too involved in it, but obviously I saw the world before the internet, and then the internet, and then the .com bubble. And the reason why I say that it reminds me of that is like somebody like Warren Buffett ended up making a ton of money, becoming one of the
latest hype waves have been
richest investors, the richest people in the entire world, and still is. But one of the reasons why he did so well was because he actually avoided all the .com stuff. So there was a time when all you had to do was
well, he also got a lot of funding from the government, a lot of sweetheart deals, a lot of backdoor deals. I mean, and what did he really create? He just found some, like he talks about, he's like a he would find a cigarette butt with a cigar butt with with a couple more puffs on it. So he got all these bargain basement deals, and then he worked him up, and he's a sales guy. I mean, he's not this massive investor. He didn't invent this technology. He's just not making them. He's just finding the ones that are winners. Because with statistical modeling stuff, he was doing that because he's got Asperger's like crazy. He was doing that stuff, looking at all the actuarial tables for these companies, all this data that nobody gave a shit about. Nobody wanted to go. Who wants to go through and pour through all those numbers like that as a thing? And most people did that. A lot of people followed his advice and did not win because they went off on their own thing. And because he was just finding people that are winners, and he was extremely dedicated and disciplined and spurgy, man. He's a total spurgy. He's like, we live in the same house, drive the same car. It's like, yeah, but most people are not going to do that, man. They're not going to do that. And so when we put these people on these pedestals, it's like we have to really look at what they really are. And we put this hype wave around these people, like there's some kind of magic around. It's like, no, just kind of lucky and have a certain personality that it allows for that stuff. And it's, don't get all too excited. And he didn't invent anything. He just did financial shit. Come on.
.com to your name, and you were worth like billions of dollars. And all of that basically evaporated overnight. Really,
well, it wasn't the .com. It was hyping it up. And people wanting greed and want to get in on it. Because it was the early part of these hype waves. And everybody's like, sees it. They go, oh, shit. This is how the whole financial set happens all the time. They see one little success. They go, oh, shit. I want to do that too, and then it ramps it up. That's why you see these double humps on these, and then everyone gets to the top of it. It's like, is it gonna go to the top? And everyone that knows it's been hype waved up just pulls it out. So rug pulls it, and the people left at the top are like, oh
no! The collapse of a website called Pets.com,
every time,
which is now owned by PetSmart. So if you go
like Charlie Brown with the peanuts, what's that lady? Lucy. He's like, goes to board, kick the ball, poop, and then, nope. Every single time she pulls it away, he just goes flying because he's put all his energy to try to kick that damn ball. And he keeps throwing it from him. Same stuff. It's the same stuff. And man, especially for young people and you haven't seen these cycles yet, they've gotten super intense, and nobody's like reminding you, hey, by the way, they said a bunch of shit before about all kinds of stuff that this was to be dead, everything would be gone and dead by now, and we're still here, and everything's here, and we're still trying to figure it all out. All the problems they said would be solved by at this point in time are not solved. Whoa!
You go to pets.com, it'll redirect you to PetSmart. So if you read up on pets.com, basically that, it says here, a company raised $82.5 million in February of 2000 in an IPO, and it filed for bankruptcy just 9 months later. They didn't have a business model. They just had a website. It was a domain, pets.com, good domain. So they're worth $82.5 million.
There wasn't a business there. They were just on the hype train. And a lot of people still, even Chris is like, I can't believe this. Like, dude, this is what they did. There was never a business there. There was never a business there. It was just pure hype. And to get the stock price and a pump, it's called a pump and dump. The old pump and dump's like, oh, they didn't really have a business model and they weren't planning it out. It's like, no, they weren't. They was in the right place at the right time and got lucky, and they rode that thing to the top. And guess what? A lot of these people who are involved in these things do remember the previous cycles. And they took notes. Like, oh, you just hype it up, you lie the shit up, and if nobody remembers, oh, we can just do it again over and over again and hype it up even 1,000 times more. Just tell them everything they want to hear, and nobody will remember. 6 months later, 2 months later, 1 month later, everybody's like, on to the next thing.
Million. Their business model didn't even know how to ship dog food bags. Now, this is before even Amazon was a big thing.
That wasn't the problem. That wasn't what they were selling. They were selling this $1 billion overnight. American dream. Our Americans get suckered for every time. And everybody's like, I want to get rich overnight. Get me there, .com. It's like, what are you doing? Don't you guys remember? It's like, gosh, I guess I'm not lucky. It's like, no, you're a sucker. Quit falling for these obvious scams and pump and dump schemes and stock buyback programs and stock pumping. Come on.
Because Amazon,
no, we're gonna get rid of all the programmers. Like, no, you're not.
at the time, wasn't even profitable, even though it'd been around since the mid 90s, didn't draw its first dollar of profit until 2004. Also the same time that Google was having its IPO. Which brings me back to my point of Warren Buffett.
I wonder if they're in a fever at that point in time when Google has their IPO. Do you think they're in a fever pitch? Come on. These things all go in cycles. And it's like so you can tell where the cycle's at, but with the messaging, how they speak about it. So at the bottom, they're going, "Oh my God, it's the layoffs will continue forever." It's like, no, they won't. And then at the top, it's like, we can't. This thing can go on forever. This is a long boom. It's like this AI hype is 1,000 times higher than anything that's ever. No, that's not even true. It's about to crash. It's about to fall over.
Those .coms, and he actually invested in companies like Heinz and Geico and
when all these. Said it's going to go on forever. It's about to fall over, and when it's like this is going to be dead and we can't recover, we're about to come out of it or already out of it and coming out of it. They totally screw with our heads.
Companies that actually had tangible products, and it turned out that he just ended up making a massive amounts of money, as everybody else that was all in on the .com stuff started losing everything. He was gaining everything. He was gaining the ability to buy even more companies. So he once said about crypto, and specifically Bitcoin.
Yeah, he knows the cycles, man. He's been around a few cycles. You want to know an old man who's seen a few things? He's seen all the tricks. He's been tricked a lot. He talks about it's like, oh man, everyone runs tricks on me. So he's been a good sniffer outer of people who run tricks by having all the tricks run on them. You gotta like most people just give up. They're like, fuck all this. These people trying to scam me constantly trying to scam. Yeah, most people is like, I'm just done with all this stuff. And then people like him was like, no, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to learn them all, and I'm going to run them on you.
Rat poison squared. And here's that quote here. So that was a famous quote when he said it, because Warren Buffett, just like he avoided the .coms in the 90s, he's also avoiding crypto up until this date, and including his lifelong buddy, Charlie Munger, who passed away last year. He also hated Bitcoin. And basically,
I like Munger. I like Munger. I do like it, but he's still just a business guy. He's just a shrewd Asperger's, spurgy ass, like just cutthroat, hardcore business guy that when has got a reputation for finding stuff that works and making sure it keeps working. And then he has some of the stuff he comes up with about how to run companies, legit. But just like he's still finding companies that are already run well and kind of letting them run. So he's not like inventing these companies; he's just finding them. They're all over the place, but they're not going to go out and most of them are not announcing and hyping, doing the hype wave stuff. So that's just the ones we see on the crazy internet.
It was like, hey, there is no tangible benefit to this. The only benefit is that you're going to be able to sell it for more money than you bought it for. So somebody like Mark Anderson, who is very famous amongst the Silicon Valley investors, he's an angel investor, one of the most famous out there. Andreessen Horowitz is one of the biggest firms out there as far as investing in a lot of successful companies. But he went on to say that Warren Buffett is basically an old white guy who's just basically crapping on new technology. Now that's paraphrasing if you want.
No, he's got his interests. He wants people to invest in stocks, not Bitcoin. Where's his customers going to come from if you got all your money in fucking Bitcoin? You're not buying stocks.
That's what he said about Warren Buffett's view on crypto. So basically attacking him as an old man and not knowing what he's talking about. And I get it. That's a common thing, right? Where the old reject.
It's not the technology. Who gives a shit about the technology? It's all technology anyway. So it's like, okay, so there's certain things that someone like that Warren Buffett would be all about, which is getting deals from the government, which they're not into government. They're not into Bitcoin. They're in the stock market and bonds and stock certificates and buybacks and bailouts. He knows there's butter's cooked. He knows where bread is buttered. Come on now. Bitcoin doesn't butter his bread. Come on. He's not getting a special deal from Bitcoin. Come on now.
That's the new.
Look into this guy. He's not some business genius. He's not. He's right place, right time, lucky, and knows the right people. Guys, just sweetheart deals.
All that said, here's a picture of Mark Anderson wearing this Google Glass, right? Everybody remember Google Glass and the hype?
He does not have an egghead. He does. He's got an egghead.
That caused, here's Sergey Brin from Google.
I don't know if that's the lens or what's going on.
It looks ridiculous. And it obviously wasn't feasible, but they were all in on that.
I mean, yeah, they were totally down for they thought it was going to be the next amazing thing. And everyone would be walking around with these things on their head like that. It's like goofy Gus. Like, no, we're not doing that. Now, it was interesting. 1.0, it's like, try, but was it functional? I tried one when they first came out. Terrible. Like, what were you guys smoking when you were like talking about this Google Glass? It's like what it could be. And that's when I figured it out. I was like, yeah, this is all they ever talk about is what could be. Because what is already shipping. They don't hype the thing on what's shipping. They hype the thing what's going to ship in the future. They figured it out. It's like, all you do is hype up the sci-fi and tell people they're going to have everything everything that ever wanted. And then people will buy your stock and you'll be able to be giving people throwing money at you. And by the time they figure out the scams, you already bought your island, you're out of there. What do you care? You're not building.
See what Google Glass was trying to do, and they actually were headed in the right direction with trying to get a very small device, because that is the biggest problem with both AR and VR, is that the devices are too large, they're too clunky, they're too closed off from the outside world.
And they're not that useful. They're not that great. They're just kind of suck. The only thing I found that's actually useful for the VR stuff is doing drone photography, just like flying around drone with the goggles and having the 3D look around. That's pretty cool. But other than that, I don't know, it makes you feel sick, and you can only take that for maybe 30 minutes at a time, and you're like, ugh. You're just like, it's just not really meant for it. They're like, you guys, the tech is just not going to be there. Just strap an LED monitor to your eyes is just not a day-long use thing. It's just never. I don't think it's ever going to be.
And Google Glass was going to. They were going to fix that problem, but the problem was that it was sort of a worthless piece of.
They always said that. It's because and the reason why they said it is because they know they can't. Because if they said they were going to fix it, they would have fixed it. They would have released it because they know that's the problem. They knew what the fucking problems are. But that's not the purpose of putting the glass out. The purpose of putting the glass out is to get the fucking money from investors who all think the sci-fi future is right around the corner.
Crap, and it cost a ton of money, and it didn't really do anything.
No,
see, virtual reality's been around for.
It didn't really do anything. Oh no, it pumped their stock price, make them think that they're all futurized like robots, data like half data from Star Trek. A lot of this shit's like people like flirting with sci-fi stuff, trying to like, oh, I got sci-fi. If you just give me $100 billion, I can do the sci-fi. I can do all the magic. No, can you show me, at least show me the part of the trick? No, 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 no. That comes later. After you pay me.
For a long time. There was something called Nintendo Virtual Boy that came out in the mid 90s,
Oh,
1995.
I remember that
And
thing too. What a piece of garbage. What a piece of crap. And they made this thing sound like, oh, it sounded like the VR that's on that we have Steve already. I mean, it's getting close now to what they were actually talking about back then. But even back then, they were trying to hype it all up. This is 30 years ago. 30 years, maybe even longer. Was it 95? Yeah, 95, like 30 years. And they were saying it back then. We got it. It's sold. We're selling it. We're putting it out. It's good. You'll love it. And they people did not love it.
I'll be honest, probably most people have never even heard of this or even seen it. I don't think I've ever seen this in the wild, but it was Nintendo's stab at getting into VR, but it was just simply too early for its time, just like Google Glass. And it's not like I can get on Adrian for trying to get behind Google Glass. I mean, it was like I wanted VR and AR to take off, but
yeah, of course, we all did. The way they hyped it up and talked about it since the 80s. They've been talking about, like, oh yeah, you'll be able to 3D the Star Trek shows constantly on the damn holodeck. And people are like, oh yeah, this would be what I like. Yeah, that'll be what I was like.
it just simply takes time. But we always hype.
Simply takes time. No, I just don't think you can do it with that stuff. I think you're gonna have to have a room. Like you're gonna have to have a room. Sorry, some kind of thing. It's like just putting the goggles on your eyes is not. It's not the thing, man. If it was, we'd be getting rid of all these monitors and stuff. We would already have them on our face. It would already be done deal. We wouldn't even be talking about it. We'd be talking about something else. Now, what's gonna perfect the technology? They're not ever gonna perfect the technology. It's not gonna work like that. It's not gonna, the way they would have it set up with LED screens on your eyes. And
things up to the extreme. That's just what we do in the media. When Pokemon Go came out, it was actually an example of, oh, look, this is augmented reality and everybody loves it and they're playing it on their phone. And yes, it was a humongous success, but it was one single video game. And unfortunately, that didn't transfer to the rest of the world. We still don't really have augmented reality. Although, if you ask me, that is something that's going to be in our near future.
Well, yeah.
So yeah,
I mean,
Google.
Yeah, maybe. It's like, but you gotta make it so it's more seamless than what they have now, which is, I mean, it's kind of like just do the cell phone. It's fine. Let's put it on the cell phone. The AR on the cell phone is fine. Not go integrate it in your glasses or whatever. I don't think that's gonna be a thing. It's too annoying.
Glass didn't pan out. It didn't get rid of opportunity. Really, it created opportunity. It created the fact that people like Palmer Luckey knew that there was a reason to try to develop a virtual reality machine. And when we look at what he was able to do, I mean, he created the Oculus and he did it from the garage of his parents' home. This is the first prototype of this thing. Obviously, way different than what it looks like now.
I mean,
sells this company to Facebook,
sort of.
Meta, for $2 billion. And the rest is history. So
yeah,
now we have.
I think it probably been a little more. There are other entities involved, but this thing was just him in his garage, I'm sure.
Oculus Quest 3. We have the Valve Index. We have some.
That's just been going on. They've been developing this Google's this helmet VR stuff forever.
Great headsets that are out there, but they're still not widely adopted because of the same problems that we've been dealing with all this time. They're heavy, they're clunky, they cause motion sickness. We have screen door effects and things. The graphics and video game engines and such, they suffer when it comes to just like.
You got to sit there like this. If you sit there like this, it's okay. But as soon as you start moving your head around,
flickering and those are tough problems to solve, and they're going to be that way for a long time. So even though
they're not
we're not there with the
them.
technology,
They would look, man. They would have already solved them. If they could have gotten around this stuff, they've already gotten around it. They can't get around it. As humans, we're just not set up for it. We're just not set up for that. Sorry.
We still have efforts being made. So Apple Vision Pro is a good contender now. It's good that Apple is getting into the VR market. It's going to take a lot of really expert minds, a lot of money to actually figure out these problems. And then eventually when we do figure out these problems to I would say a commercial success standpoint, it's going to create more jobs and more opportunity, which is really the point of this video, is that all of this hype and all this talk that we've done for decades for the entire invention of really modern day programming and software, these new technologies, we've hyped them up and many times they pay off. Most of the time they don't. But even when they do,
most of them, like the vast majority of it doesn't pay out, or it's only pays out for a little while and then you're done. There's been go back to the 90s, all the commercial go to the computer electronic shows and the Mac Worlds and everything like that. I went to all those conventions and stuff. All those companies gone. They're all gone. And there was millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars, and they're all gone. All of them.
Pay off. They create more jobs. And a lot of times it could also be premature. So like when we look at AR, right, the AR VR thing, and it reminds me of Zuckerberg and Facebook they're changing their name to Meta. And why did they do that? It's because they wanted to create a metaverse. They thought for some reason, because of COVID, which is pretty short-sighted, that everybody that works who doesn't even want to get on a freaking Zoom meeting or a Teams meeting and show their face is somehow going to want to put on a clunky headset.
I can't believe they spent billions of dollars on this cartoon world. It's so sad. We're like, what are you guys building? We're building a cartoon world. Looks like Legoland. And you want adults to go in this thing? Yeah, we want adults to go in there. Really? And they would spend time in Legoland and look like a plastic toy. What the fuck?
And have that thing riding on their head all day so that they can be in some sort of virtual world when they're supposed to be working. So I could see this being an absolute nightmare in the workforce. Actually, it would be fun to do this. It's almost like Slack emojis or something, but to the utmost degree or whatever, where it's like everybody's just going to be like basically playing a video game. And this is why it's not feasible. It's not feasible because the hardware isn't there, the software isn't there, and it's just sort of stupid. It's a video game. But Zuckerberg and Facebook have now lost approximately $50 billion as of 2020 on that investment. And
that's a lot of San Francisco property. That's a lot of lost California property.
I actually don't criticize Zuckerberg and Facebook or Meta for this. I think that Facebook is a crap product. I don't use it.
How about just fix Facebook? That shit's still buggy as fuck. What a piece of crap software. It's like nobody's changed it in years. There's been bugs in that thing forever. But no, fix that? Nope. 46 billion down the hole and something nobody ever cared about in the first place. No, fix the website? No. Fix the website? No, we're gonna make an AR world you're gonna live in with goggles on your head.
I just store photos on it. They have a dying business model. If it wasn't for Instagram and something,
but we just kind of like your stupid meme app. Could you fix that? No, screw that.
These other investments, and now AI. They're doing good things in AI, and yeah, they fired and missed big time on the metaverse thing. But I like where their head is at. They're trying to do something different.
Money laundering.
It just was kind of a stupid idea, really. And that goes into like, when the cryptocurrency phase was dying down a few years ago, it's like we needed to hype something else up. NVIDIA needed something, right? NVIDIA was selling to all these graphics cards to Bitcoin miners, and when all that crashed and it all of a sudden became unprofitable to mine Bitcoins, then we needed something else. And those something else's were basically starting up exchanges like, remember FTX?
Oh, yeah. Oh, man.
FTX going under, like that was a pretty big deal a couple years ago, losing hundreds of billions of dollars. I mean, this person was one of the wealthiest in the world and now went to zero and is in prison. But this is really the fact that there's still not a whole lot of feasibility with crypto. There's not a whole lot you can do with it except for illegal.
It has a use case. It's called store value and while everything else is hyperinflating, you at least have something that can't be made out of nothing and has a strong network all around the world that's going to be difficult to take down if they ban it. And if they do ban it, it'll double in price overnight. I don't know. It's got some good size, bad size. I mean, all the transactions are public, and they could easily do some kind of surveillance thing on it if they want to, super easily. Or they could just ban it from people, and maybe that who knows, man. It's not like the fiat currency that we have is real, so that that's a big scam already. So it's like, well, which scam you want to try to go after? One that's controlled by the government, or one that's not?
Transactions and such. And granted, I know that they're trying to work on that, but that's been the argument for many years. Anyway, that craze died down. So what did we do? We jumped over to NFTs. So does anybody remember the NFTs and this Bored Ape and this thing selling for? I mean, Yuga Labs valued at $4 billion. I don't know if that's accurate or not. $1 billion.
Yeah, anyway, I skipped the NFT. I thought that was awful goofy and silly. I would definitely Bitcoin maxi, but yeah, the NFT thought I was funny. I thought it was really funny, and it's really sad that people got into that.
There was
the level of the pumping, dumping, and scamming with that stuff was ridiculous. But it's also parallels the art world, which is about money laundering and tax-free payments, etc.
This picture actually sold for a crap load of money here, and it actually just a couple years later, because everybody realized how worthless it is, it was down 88%. This is back in mid 2023. And then if I look at it now, looks like some of these things are selling for still quite a bit of money, but not nearly as high as what they were. And for what? Like, this was all just hype and people trying to put their money behind this so they can make a bunch of money.
Just another token, just another crypto alt. Everything is trying to be Bitcoin, but never will be, because Bitcoin's the Mac Daddy and will be here for a long time. Lindy Effect says we're going to do at least another 20 years out of this, 15 years out of it. What are we at, about 10 years in now? Yeah, another so at least 10 years. So, and even if it goes, man, I just don't think they're going to get rid of it. I think it's one of the few legit things out there. But I'm willing to look into other viewpoints, of course. But like the way that it's set up and how it works, man, I would have a hard time for governments. It would have to be a state level actor. They'd have to have some kind of cryptography already, like crypto breaking mechanism. And if they had that, well, all bets are off. Because nothing's safe.
Selling a digital image that you could download and use whenever you wanted. So yeah, the point of this video is that we've hyped things up, and many times when the hype paid off, it actually created much more opportunity and growth in the industry.
True.
And the hype is sometimes just that it's hype. And like this, you guys remember the engineer at Google? I mean, he's an engineer at Google, and he was convinced that ChatGPT was like a sentient being. So
sci-fi. This is tech horror. This is the kind of stuff where they actually do pump the price because people go, "Oh my god, if it's that powerful, then it must really be true."
Yeah,
worth billions.
Here's me asking how many R's are in the word strawberry with DeepSeek R1 14B, which is the latest hype. And according to this, there's 2 R's in the word strawberry. So yeah, with the advent of the smartphone, it created a ton of jobs. With the advent of VR, we're creating more programming jobs in VR. With the advent of being able to put AI and tools like Photoshop, which is coming up pretty soon with this Firefly product, this should be interesting. But I've also seen a lot of AI art to date that is pretty terrible. I have a video that shows you the latest from OpenAI and Sora and how it just doesn't actually work. And it's not going to work anytime soon. There's other tools that are out there that are all trying to integrate AI, and some of it is like they're like shoehorning it in where it's just simply not ready. Just like Meta was not ready for the metaverse.
Correct.
The world's still not ready for the Apple Vision Pro. It's too expensive. There's not enough usage for it.
Yes, it's been like this for a long time.
I think that when I started my career, the COBOL developers that were thinking that the sky was falling because COBOL was going away and mainframes were going away. And what did that introduce? It introduced a whole lot of cloud computing. And how many jobs have been created in DevOps and cloud computing?
So many.
There's a ton.
Yeah, that's the thing is that we even with this AI junk, we still haven't seen the AI computer revolution yet. Because all these things are all closed boxes, all these apps, all these operating systems. You can't go in there and twist things around or have an AI assist you to modify these applications for your own purposes. It's black box. You pay the fee, shut the fuck up. You want to look inside? No. We'll get you a copyright violation. Now it's like we want Lego pieces like Alan Kay's what he talks about, the computing from the operating system up is based on these Lego pieces that you can modify and change and get in there and make it your own. So we haven't seen that yet, and we will though with this AI assisting. Definitely, we're gonna have that kind of stuff available, but not with how these operating systems are set up now. But in the future, we will definitely have it, and that's what the AI will be for. That's what it will be released and help us out, so we can make tools that we want for us, for humans. I don't know. This is not far fetched. Not for $1 billion tech companies, but for our own personal human needs. Not $20 a month for some AI tools. No. So that's all kind of fade away.
Not just managing those stacks like at AWS, also for all the companies that use it and integrate with it. And that doesn't seem to be stopping anytime soon. So do I think the NVIDIA CEO is accurate or not? And I don't really know. Maybe you could argue that like ones and zeros of coding are not necessary anymore. It's not necessary to learn how to do a for loop. But
right. But it's not necessary to know how a for loop gets translated into machine language, into assembly, and into machine language for a particular chipset. It's not important to know, but to know how a for loop works when you iterate over a list of things. Yeah, we kind of need to know how that works, and you're gonna have lists of things that need to be gone down, and each item has to have something you do each item. Yes, a for loop. Yes, you're gonna have to have a loop. You're gonna have to have a loop there. How that actually gets transcoded down into the machine code instructions that run on the chip, I really don't give a fuck. I don't care how that works. Now I got to know at least once how these things operate. What are these things doing at the bottom? Useful to know. But after that, what actual codes it's using? Please just give me you can do that. You compile it for me. And that's going to be the same thing with these AI tools. You just tell it what you want. If you give it the generic, it's going to just assume that you want the most basic, vanilla, generic thing. And if you're going to tweak it, you better know how all that stuff puts it together. So someone that knows how all that stuff is put together can ask for the right things, right? But if you're just coming in like, give me the thing, then you think that the AI is going to do it for no. I don't think that's the hype. They say it's like, oh, we'll just make your own Facebook. Ooh, like, no. There's 1,000 decisions that go through that to make your own thing that people will want to use. And who is that? Not you. Usually, it's your customers. You got some customer somewhere that you have a skill set to wrangling this machine to make it do stuff that they want to do because they don't want to go through all the hassle of figuring all that stuff out. What it's capable of, how it does it, how these things are put together, like to present it. Like they don't want to do all that stuff. They want you to do that.
I don't actually agree with that. We see that this thing can't even tell me how many R's are in the word strawberry, but somehow we're going to feel comfortable with this thing flying airplanes and self-driving cars and being responsible for the medical equipment
Not with this
that is
crap,
diagnosing
no.
you or doing surgeries or building your cars. And so I think even the NVIDIA CEO would acknowledge that there's always going to need to be human intervention. And I think the biggest point of this entire video is that, yes, I've seen a lot of these hype cycles and I've seen a lot of the sky is falling. And I think we're going to continue to see that. Generative AI is a humongous breakthrough. It might even be the biggest thing since the smartphone or the internet. It's going to change the world. It already is.
They said that about COBOL. They said that about compilers. They said about all this stuff. They said it about what was it microservices. They said it about all the database stuff. It's always this hype. It's like it'll solve all the problems. No, it'll solve some problems. It's useful for, but humans are still going to be in the loop because that's just how it is. People don't want to look, man. If people want to talk to the machines already, they'd be talking to the machines. If they want to design the software, they'd find a way to design the software. They don't want to do that part. They want you to do that part.
But are we going to do the same old boring things, right? We're currently looking at this video on an old platform, which is YouTube, that was created in 2006, watching a 2D screen and clicking on different websites and clicking buttons and things using the same HTML, CSS, and JavaScript.
Yeah, these are metaphors, right, to things that we've been doing for centuries as humans. Paper, writing stuff on paper, sending paper to people, receiving paper from other people, putting numbers on paper, adding up columns. The machine is completely arbitrary, right? But how we have these things set up is a metaphor for how we do things. And it'll just become even more human-like, less machine-like, more human-like.
Why would humanity continue to have this as a medium if we truly have AI? If we truly have AI, I would imagine we have a whole lot of new stuff on the horizon that is going to be possible because of these tools. And when we create new possibilities like the advent of the automobile, it's going to create entirely new industries, from insurance to assembly lines to tire manufacturing, all of that, right? It's going to be the same thing with AI. We're not going to build the same boring e-commerce websites, because once you get to a point where anybody can just say, hey, build me a website that looks like Amazon, what is that going to do when you can't differentiate one site from another, right? If everybody
then there becomes, what is the differentiator? Well, my site does XYZ for ABC, but it doesn't do GHI for KLM. It doesn't. So we're going to niche down even further. We're going to be even further niche down. It'll be, yes, you can do the Amazon site, whatever, but whatever that means. Are you going to do all the back end, the warehouses and the checking systems and all the recording stuff, the whole 9 yards, the warehousing and the shipping and the order taking and the refunds and all the customer service? You're going to do all that stuff too?
Everybody's got a YouTube competitor sitting on a cloud hosting provider, and we're all fighting to see who's going to be the next viral YouTube platform. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't seem like that's where we're going.
It's going to niche down. It's going to be this the day of the mass thing is over. This AI thing allows people to niche down, and you're going to curate an AI that's going to help you build these things for your audience. I don't know. This is not difficult, but we're going to make the next Amazon. No, and Amazon was a time and place for a certain type of thing, and it's going to stay there for a long time. And it's going to get eaten away by AI that help for people like us creators who take a niche. You're already seeing there's certain things you can get on Amazon. If you want the special thing, you're gonna have to go over to their private site, and they get they got a loss leader on the Amazon, but most of their business comes from other stuff that they're going to get you on their site. So be more of that shit.
Going to end up. I mean, when I think of a world like that, I think of like you're going to have 1 million people entering you're going to have 1 million people entering this workforce, and if everybody can do the same thing, and nothing differentiates us. Like, come on, that's just not going to be the case.
I just
We're going to
explained
need
why it
creative
won't be
people
the
that are going to
case.
take these tools and technologies and be able to put them together, just like modern day programmers do now. And if you get to a point where a non-programmer can write a bunch of logic and plug things together like puzzle pieces, which is basically like what our jobs are.
So I've been hearing that for a long time too. I work for this company called Silicon Beach Software, and we did this product called Supercard, and they were saying that this would be the way that people would do this because it was made application development a lot easier. It was like a precursor to JavaScript, kind of like scripting language, and they were saying the same thing back then. And yes, there were people that didn't want to do the full-on Mac programming thing that were willing to do the Supercard programming light. Yes, so many more people were able to do it, but not everybody. You still didn't know how to program. You still didn't know where buttons were, what buttons did, how you could sequence things, how you could think about things in a way that made sense, how you want the printouts to look, how you want the screen to look. What are you actually doing here? Are we marching people around to do marching brand simulations? Or are you doing some kind of email program? Those are very different things.
And it can somehow do that just as effectively as a programmer. I just don't buy it, because people that are logically thinking, creative individuals, they're going to simply have an edge over people that are not.
Yeah.
And you're still going to have an entire world of creation. And my guess
yes,
is that
it's just increases the productivity. It's not going to replace the people. But they've used this AI as a scary thing to fire people because they realized they couldn't use their free money printer 0% interest, zero interest rate policy environment to fund their stuff for free. They actually now have to make a profit. They're like, oh shit, a profit? Whoa, that wasn't part of the plan.
going to be building new things that nobody sees coming at this point. But who knows? Maybe somehow all the programming jobs are gone, and we're all just like looking at the same website for some reason using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript.
And then also because it's particularly deep now because we did 15 years, which usually we do these cycles are about 7 years. So we went double the length of time, thinking that we would figure it out by now, that we'd have an AI already taken over all this stuff by now. Didn't quite work out. Anyway, I'm gonna stop the video there, and thanks for laughing along and letting me rant. And I need to trim my beard. I'll talk to you guys later.